Hello, good morning, floralpreneurs. It is I, Alison Ellis here of realflowerbusiness.com, coming at you live Tuesday morning for another Tuesday Q&A. It's hard to believe it's Tuesday. I think once we get into December, all the days start to blend, where you're like, oh, it's December 1st, and then all of a sudden I'm like, oh no, it's almost mid-December. So that's how I'm feeling today. The 10th of December feels like December's happening quickly, which is all the more reason to remind you why I've been inviting you to these live streams every Tuesday to answer your questions, because this is the time of year where it's easy to slack, right? It's easy to reach for the cookies. It's easy to put on an auto reply because people will understand, right? It's the holidays. But what's better for you personally in your life and also in your business is to not think of anything as ending, okay? Think of this as the ramp up, the amp up, the preamble to your 2020. So if we want 2020 to be a great, strong, solid year, which I do, I think I want every year to be a great, strong, solid year, but 2020, there's something about it, right? It's kind of like those of you who are old enough to remember setting goals back when it became the 2000s, right? You're like, 2000, it's like a mile marker, right? Like it's 2020, it's a mile marker year. And it's an important time to think about where you want to be next year. So now is the time to finish the year strong so you can start strong. And that, my friends, is why I'm inviting you here every Tuesday to answer your questions. So every week, there's been a little something different that people have asked. I've gone through and pulled questions from the Facebook group and put them all together and sort of answered them all at once. But I got a really great email yesterday that had a bunch of questions in it from Roxanne. And so I am going to share Roxanne's questions with you today because and that's what I said to her in my email back. I said, hey, listen, I'm going to answer these in my Q&A tomorrow because I think a lot of people have similar questions. And so that's what I'm doing. So you're going to get Roxanne's questions answered today. And as always, if you have questions for me, feel free to just write one right in the comment box there. So good morning, Victoria. Good morning, Sarah. Thanks for being here. So let's get started. First, a little business. Tuesday, December 10th, that's today, is the last day to apply for my scholarship. There are 2 scholarships available, by the way, for my Art of Good Business program. So if you're not familiar with the fact that I'm running these scholarship opportunities or my course, let me tell you really quickly about it. The scholarship is going to give you a $1,000 course for $0, okay? So it's a really great opportunity to get all of my very best information for free if you qualify for the scholarship. So all you need to do to qualify is you need to be in business for at least 3 years, and you must have a website. It is so important that you have a website because if you don't have a website, then you won't be able to get the full benefit of my Art of Good Business course, because the stuff that we do in that course, it shows up on your website. That's where all the work that we do behind the scenes in that course, which I walk you through in January. So you can do the course at your own pace anytime, but I walk you through it in January so that you have live support, questions answered, anything that you need, you got me. You have my attention for 5 weeks in January. All 5 Fridays of January is when I'm going to do it. And you don't have to attend live, but you have the opportunity to. And that happens in a private Facebook group. But if you've been in business for 3 years or more, if you have a website, you qualify to apply for the scholarship. I'm going to pick 2 winners. You have to apply by midnight tonight. And if you get into the Art of Good Business course, what you're going to learn is a ton about yourself. You're going to learn how to put really good messaging out onto your website so that you attract better customers. So I would talk a lot about how we pre-qualify, how we talk about pricing, right? How we send proposals that are snappy and quick and book really quickly. I'm passionate about all of that stuff. But in order to make all those systems work, then the Art of Good Business, that stuff, that's the stuff you got to do first, because that's how we attract the right client. That's how I know that I don't waste my time, because I'm not sending out proposals to people who aren't right, because I did some Art of Good Business work in order to put out the right messaging that brings me the right people. So that's the kind of work we do in the course. The reason why I tell you need to be in business 3 years is because if you're not in business for 3 years, you may not have actually had an experience where you've worked with terrible clients and good clients so that you can tell the difference. That's really why I make that distinction. It's not really like to discriminate that you're too new or something. But if you're going to get the scholarship to be in here, you need to have like a little bit underneath you. You got to have some legs under you, a couple of seasons in business already so that you know what your business is doing now and get a sense of where you want to go in the future. I know my first year or two in business, I would have had a real hard time being able to identify what an ideal customer was for me because I had never even heard that term yet, right? So I want to make sure that I'm making sure people who can get the most benefit are the people who get the scholarship. All right, I see a question from Kayla. Hi, Kayla. Doing my video for the application right after this. Okay, awesome. Yes. So, oh, and good morning, Carmen. Good morning. So, yes, you do have to do a video application to apply. So there are a couple of questions I ask you, and then you have to submit a video. Why? Because if you're not willing to make a little video, short video of yourself, some people do 2 minutes, some people do 5 minutes. If you're not willing to sit down and talk to me about yourself and your business, then you are not willing to push yourself out of your comfort zone enough to take my course for free. So that's the story. You got to be willing to push it. You got to be willing to, because you have to show up. You got to show up for yourself. You got to show up for your business. You got to show up for your customers, and you got to show up for me if you want to get my $1,000 scholarship. All right. So thank you, Kayla. I'm glad it's like on your schedule. Do it today. Send it out. You have till midnight tonight to apply. And I look forward to watching your video. Oh, hey, Deanna. How are ya? Glad to see you here. Okay, let me get to Roxanne's questions. I'll try not to keep doing that every time I say her name, but I can't help it. All right, so here's what Roxanne wrote. Hi, Allison. I just found you by accident while watching floral videos. I am a floral designer, 10 years, working from home, and only do weddings and events. I do not have a website, just a Facebook page. And she says, I could not enter your scholarship program because of that. Then she says, would you be kind and generous enough to answer some questions I have? So the first question she has is, who do you recommend to design a website, or do you recommend designing your own with one of those design yourself companies? Okay, so there isn't a one size fits all answer on how you should go about getting your website set up. I have always had a professional web person set up a new website for me. Anytime I have ever done a new website, I've had it done by a professional. I personally use WordPress. I love WordPress. I've been using it for a real long time now. So I'm used to it and I'm comfortable with it. So I like it and I do recommend it. But if I were starting now and I didn't know WordPress and I didn't know what I was doing, I would get a Squarespace site. So if you're starting out with your very first website, I would recommend going to Squarespace. I would still probably recommend that you have somebody lined up who can help you with that. Maybe you have somebody who sets up your site for you, and then you can make updates from there. But it's always great to have a web person, because websites go down, because things get funky, because sometimes you get hacked, like crazy stuff happens. It's just nice to know that you have somebody that you can call if you have a problem. So that's what I would personally suggest. If you're not sure where to start, but you know you need a website, because you do, because I'm telling you, then you want to get started with Squarespace if you're not sure what to do. And all right, next question. This is one that I see a lot in the group, and I don't usually address it, but I'm going to address it here. So she says, I did 2 wedding shows last year to increase my business. Do you recommend doing wedding shows? And then she writes, cost $500 and up, plus flowers and time, lots of money. Okay, so she says she did these shows to increase her business. So my question back would be, did it increase business? So that's always going to be the compass, right? Like this is the meter we're using. Like, did that show bring me business or did it not? So if it did, and if it brought you good business, again, the difference between the customers we really like and the customers that aren't so ideal, if it brought you more of the customers that you like very much, then you can go ahead and do it. If you got 3 times the return on your investment, if you got 5 times the return on your investment, ideally you get much more than that, right? When we advertise, we'd like to get more back. But for some people, they can justify spending the $500 plus the flowers plus the time if they book 2 weddings, or if they book 2 weddings and connect with a local wedding vendor at the show, right? Like, so it's just going to depend on what you've gotten out of it in the past and what you think you can get out of it in the future. For me, anytime I did wedding shows in the past, and I don't really do them, I don't do them at all now, frankly, but when I did do them, it was never a moneymaker. It was never a great place where you made a strong connection. I think now if I did a show, I'd have an easier time making a better connection because I've worked with more ideal customers. I have a better sense of my own self and my own brand. Again, that's that art of good business work I'm going to walk people through in January if you want to join. You know, that stuff makes it easier for me to connect with people now than it in the past when I was doing these shows where you just sort of stand around and smile. Your face hurts after like 2 hours of smiling. You're handing out cards. You're just sort of, and you know they're just taking it and putting it in a bag with a ton of other cards. So you got to know where your customers are hanging out. So if your customers are hanging out there, then you can hang out there. But if your customers aren't there, then don't do the show. So then here's what she says after that. Do you recommend contacting brides via email or mail after the show? And she says, I'm talking about the spreadsheet that vendors are given with a list of attending brides. Okay, so that's a great one. So if anybody hasn't done this yet, if you go to a show and they say, well, we're going to give you a name of every person who signed up and attended, right? You think, okay, I'm getting some value. And that's why they're telling you this, right? Because it's value. You're going to get leads. Those people are not leads for you, okay? They're just not. Think about yourself if you were attending a show. So you've been in business for 10 years. If you've been in business for 10 years, let's just say you are putting an addition on your home. And so you go to one of those, we have them around here in Vermont, like a home show. It shows you things, right? Different vendors, people who do different things. Let's just say when you register for the home show, you attend the home show, and then you leave, and now you're getting emails from people who know you were there because they paid to get access to your name and your email. What kind of information would you want them to send you? That is the question for you. So maybe you would love for them to send you information. Or if there are 50 vendors or 100 vendors, if half of those vendors are sending everybody an email, if all of a sudden they're getting, 20, 50, 100 emails that they did not want, and you're one of them, right? So I would never email everybody that attends. What I would do is I would start my own email list right at my station. I would rather email 5 people who willingly gave me their email address than 500 people who couldn't care less about me and think that my email is spam, okay? So it's a difference between hot leads and cold leads. We don't want to email cold leads because it's not gonna result in business and it's just gonna waste your time, girl, okay? So that's my take on that. All right, let's see. I see Beverly says, Bev from Huntsville, Alabama is here. All right, Bev. And May Ash Wholesale Florist says, totally agree about Squarespace and WordPress. Cool. I love agreeable comments. All right, next question. Another good one, and why you'll see why I picked all of Roxanne's questions today, because it's like all of these are good. Do you talk about vases and vessels with your customers, and at what point? You could literally spend half an hour on just that. Sucks my energy right out of me. All right, I expect to see little thumbs up or hallelujahs from people who can relate to that. How many times you are in a consultation and all of a sudden you are down a rabbit hole of what container are we using for the centerpieces, and God, is it hard to get out of that, right? You're just like sucked down into this hole of, well, could it be this? And how big is it? And how tall is it? And what color is it? And does it come in other colors? And, oh, I can't picture that. Do you have a picture of that? Do you have a picture of that? Do you have a picture of that? So the container conversation is an important one, and I do not want to discount it. It is important. It's important because it really sets the tone of the reception, right? Our container is going to be the difference between, are we doing a mason jar wedding, or are we doing a elevated centerpiece wedding? Are we doing a compote bowl, or are we doing something in clear glass, as affordable as possible, not a mason jar, but nothing fancy, right? So the container tells us a lot. And so that's why I can see it's easy to get sucked down the container conversation. And I have absolutely had consultations where I've gone and grabbed like all these different container options, and we're laying them out and we're looking at them. At the end of the day, unless it serves the client, unless the client feels clarity and they're like, thank you so much, I am so glad to see all those options, and now I can take this from here, right? Or now I know what my options are, I can consider this more in a more educated way, right? Unless the client feels that way about your container conversation, they are feeling the same energy suck that you are as the floral designer. So if you're in a situation where you have to talk about containers, what I'll do is start with something like very general. I'll give them an idea of, you can choose between something that's glass, we can do something in a colored container, we can do something in a wooden box, if that's the direction that might work for them. So I give them a few options, and they usually have some kind of reaction. Now, if there's no reaction, they're just looking for options, all right, then you're going to be down the rabbit hole. But if they like the sound of glass, if they don't like the sound of a gold compote, if they know they don't want elevated, you can start to narrow down your options a little bit. And I will tell you with all honesty that most of my customers are very non-picky about the centerpiece container. They care more about the overall look and the overall style, but the centerpiece container is something that we discuss, that we decide on together, that yes, I will present options on, but not until they're booked. Not until they're booked, and this is like our final consultation, or we are in a consultation where we are here to make decisions, and the container is one of them, right? I don't have too many rabbit hole discussions about containers anymore because it's a detail that we'll talk about that when we need to. We don't get sucked into a half-hour vessel conversation. But again, I can see how that happened, and I'd absolutely be lying if I said I've never been in that situation where I've talked way too long about how tall a 6-inch vase is, right? Okay, I see a comment from Julie. Hey, Julie. When I used to do wedding fairs, I used to do one spreadsheet. They could fill it out if I was busy with other brides. Yep, I will often, some people will do a contest, like sign up here and you could win something. So if people are interested enough to give you their email address, you can email them. But otherwise, you're being spammy. Even if the event is like, and you will get all these names and you can contact them, they don't care about you. They don't care about how you look and how stupid you're going to look when you send that email to the bride and her mom, because they're both listed on that form. They're not going to care how many people read your email and go, oh, why is this person emailing me? I don't even know who this person is, right? They don't care that happens to you. They just want to give you a promise that sounds good, which is you're going to get a list of attendees. I mean, think of it this way. Now I'm going down the rabbit hole, but think of it this way. I attended the Philadelphia Flower Show last March. So if there were a ton of vendors there, if those vendors were given everybody's name, and if those vendors started emailing me and I just started getting emails with offers from those people, I would not be happy. So always keep that in mind. Make sure you have permission to email people. I have an email list, right? I have multiple email lists. Some people are on multiple of my email list. But at the end of every one, you can unsubscribe. And in almost every single email I send, not every single, but nearly every single email that I send, I write right there in the bottom, you can unsubscribe from this list anytime. because it is so important for people to have autonomy over their email, right? And so if you signed up for something and now you don't want to get emails anymore, you have to have that option. And if you're just cold emailing people, they can't even unsubscribe from you, you know? So we just need to respect those sorts of rules and feelings from people. All right, another question from Roxanne. This one is on consultations. So she says, do you charge for consultations at your home? Up until now, I have not, and most designers around this area do not. I have a preliminary questionnaire and often ask budget, but many brides say they don't know. I also have currently a 15-day hold on the date as part of her clause in her contract. And she says, I see you recommend much less. So first, just on the holding the date, yes, I do a shorter turnaround time because of a couple of different things. I've been doing this a long time. Again, my art of business work that I do informs me on whether or not somebody's a good fit. So I don't write the quote unless I think they're probably going to accept it, right? And then when I send it, they should know within minutes of reading it whether or not they want to book me. And the reason I know that, again, is because it happens to me all the time, that I send out my quick and dirty quote that I send out all the time. It's not too much information. I don't invest too much time. I send that proposal, and then they'll book me within a few hours, or they'll book me within 24 hours. So if I, based on experience, right, and this is something I say all the time, faith is experiential. Are you going to book next season? Easier to believe when you've done it 10 years in a row than when you're only in your second year in business, right? Easier to believe that they don't need 15 days when I have multiple people booking in just one day or just a few hours, right? So I don't have to give them 15 days because I know they don't need 15 days. They only need like 5 to 7 days total to know if they want to work with me. And usually they need much less than that. Most people book in less time than that. So her question started with, though, do you charge for consultations at your home? No, I do not. Now, here's the thing. If you've been following me a while, you know this already about me. I don't meet with you until we're already booked, okay? So I do a free phone consultation. That's how I run my ship. So it is tight. So we start on the phone. We don't meet until we're already booked. If someone is meeting here at my home, usually that is something that, again, we're already under contract. This is just like our one meeting to figure out what vase you want, right? To figure out what containers you're using. And that's pretty much it. It's not something that's going to be a big time-sucking day where I need to charge them. Now, if you're talking about charging for initial consultations, that's a trick that some florists have mastered, but most people don't charge for that initial consultation. I see it like this, and I've explained this before. It's so important to me that I want to work with the customer too. It's not a one-way street. If someone pays me for a consultation, that implies that I'm willing to work with them. I'm not willing to work with you until there's a little more pre-qualification going on. So I need to chat, hear their style, hear their tone. We have an interaction. I send a quote, and then they either accept or don't accept. That's it. There's no pay to get information from me, because what if I charge them for a consultation, but then I can see that like their expectations are way off, because maybe they had a $5,000 budget. That's one of the things she says here. Well, they say they don't know. Well, what if they do know? They have a $5,000 budget, and now they come and they pay you for a consultation, but what they want is actually like $15,000 worth of stuff with their $5,000 budget. Well, they've just paid you, which implies that you're now working together. And now you don't want to work with this customer. So if it's not the norm to charge for consultations in your area, and that's not your current MO, stick with your pre-qualification. And I highly encourage everybody to start with phone consultations. I'm teaching a lot about that over in my Patreon group. That phone consultation is a chance to screen your client, and it's also a chance to, make a sale. So it's beneficial for both of you to do that step. The difference between getting that pre-qualification down and streamlining your system versus doing things in person all the time because it's more personal, which is fine, is the turnaround time. So I can take somebody from an initial contact to being under contract in 7 days. But I can't do that if we have to meet, because then we have to arrange on a time to meet, and now we're meeting and we're having, you know, a consultation, and now I'm tired from that meeting, so I'm going to wait an extra day or two to send a quote. Everything gets delayed. So for me, being able to do it on the phone, it's more expeditious, and it's easier for me, and it's easier for my client, because again, because of my art of business work I do, I know my client, and you know what she wants? Convenience. And you know what else I know about her? She's not located locally most of the time. So that phone call is going to be killer important for her in terms of me closing the sale. So anyway, that's why I don't charge for consultations, because you don't get to meet me until we're already booked. That's just sort of how it goes. All right, so those are Roxanne's questions. I want to touch really briefly on one more question that our friend Chantel shared. I didn't copy it verbatim, but if you saw it in the group, it was very clearly that she is ill right now. She has something going on, and she is not 100% well. And she also has quotes to get out and work to be done. And what should she do, right? What do you do? And sometimes something's got to give in life. And a lot of times what we choose to let go is our health. We choose to let that go because we have work to do. But if we're really thinking straight, we can't do any work if we don't have our health. So if there's any question for anybody out there who's struggling with something where they're not 100% and they need to take care of themselves, but your customers, the customers will be okay, or the customers can go someplace else and not be your customer if what you need to do is take care of yourself. And sometimes we have to be okay with that. You have to be okay with caring about your own self and what you need in order to live a good life, not just about what your business needs or what your customers need. And that is very easy to say, and it is harder to do because sometimes you're the main breadwinner, and if you let your business go, your family is in trouble, right? But again, at the end of the day, your health is important for longevity of bringing money into your household. So if there's ever any question for you about whether you should take a pause and care for yourself, let me eliminate that question for you, that doubt. It is okay to do that. In fact, it is smart to do that. I am passionate about my business. I'm passionate about both my businesses, but I would rather like live and be alive and let something in my business slack if those are truly my options. Okay, so I just want to say that out there as a piece of support for anybody who is not sure what to do. You're important. You're number one, as a matter of fact. You're number one, okay? Get it in your head. You're number one. All right, thank you guys so much. I don't see any other questions coming in. If you do have a question, please feel free to send it now. Otherwise, I'll see you here next Tuesday for the last Q&A Tuesday of December, because then it's officially Christmas week, which is crazy bananas. And January is when I'm going to be starting teaching my Art of Good Business course. So you can apply for a scholarship up until midnight tonight for my Art of Good Business course. And if you know you don't need a scholarship and you want to get in the course, you can get in the course. The course is $1,000, which is let me tell you, screaming deal for the amount of information and support you are going to get. I have plenty of people who literally are like, I can't believe how much you give us for $1,000, because you get lifetime access to the course, by the way. You can do this course over and over and over again. Same thing goes for scholarship winners. Like if you win a scholarship, you have lifetime access to the course. You can do it again. So it's not like if this January isn't completely clear on your calendar and you're not like, I'm not ready, you're never going to be ready. So start now. You can do this course over and over again. This is work I do over and over again. This isn't a one and done course. It's not like, well, if I'm not ready. you're never ready. You are never ready for what I'm about to unload on you in this course. It is really, really good. And I walk you through it live in January. You can start it now. You can literally sign up, get the information, start now, and then go through the whole thing with me in January if you want to do it that way. Or you can wait and just start when we start in January. So it's completely up to you in terms of the pace of the course, the intensity of the course. You don't have to tune in live, but I sure do love it when you do. We do that in a private Facebook group, and it is much smaller and a nice intimate way to get some one-on-one training with me in that sort of space. And it is more intimate than here, and I do share a little bit more than I share here. So that's just sort of how it goes. You get another layer behind the scenes when you're in the Art of Good Business. Let's see, Victoria says, love Art of Good Business. I bought it last year and looking forward to redoing it again this year. So worth it. Thank you, Victoria. It means a lot to me. Victoria is one of those great students who actually does the work. And even if you're one of my students who didn't do the work, I'm here for you in January. You can do it again. I've got a bunch of people doing it again with me, which is so exciting because, like I say, this is practice. The stuff I teach you is stuff you have to practice. You won't get it right the first time, and you got to be okay with that. I have learned to accept that I am not perfect, certainly not the first time around. Third time around, closer to perfect, right? But this is the work we'll do together, and I'm here to support you with it. So apply tonight for a scholarship if you so choose. Join me in the course if you would like to. The doors close on December 20th, next Friday. So if you're thinking about it, you can get in touch with me. If you're not sure if the course is right for you, get in touch with me. I am here. I am an open book, and I will hop on the call. I'm actually hopping on a call today with somebody who wants to get in the course and has some questions. That's what I do. I don't want anybody in it who doesn't want to do the work, and I want to make sure it's right for you before you spend your hard-earned money, so you can always reach me. I make it really, really easy to reach me, okay? So you can count on me. Thank you so much for tuning in. I will see you next week for our final Q&A of December. If you have questions for me, you can email me. You can leave them right here in the Facebook group anytime. And of course, you can always tag me if there's something specific you want to make sure that I address, okay? Thanks so much for being here, and I'll see you next time. Keep doing beautiful work. Keep rocking December.